I'm Andrew Portmann. I'm the Managing Director of Affinity, as well as the co-founder of the Sprout Foundation. Born and bred and stayed most of my life in Durban. So I started Affinity Solutions, which is an outsource company doing international global back office work for international companies out in South Africa. When my business partner and myself set out to start this group, we had a godly vision of getting to 10,000 employees in South Africa. As you know, there's an employee issue in South Africa, a lot of unemployment. So we wanted to try have our part in rectifying that. So we decided to go into the outsource. We saw there was a large need in the first world countries, but they just couldn't find people and graduates to work, where we have a large graduate population in South Africa that just can't get jobs. So we had a first world problem of too many jobs, not enough people, and a third world problem of too many people, not enough jobs, and we thought, let's bring them together. Yes, very much so. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and that is not an easy journey. It takes a lot of years, a lot of practice, a lot of heartache. I got through my degree pretty painlessly, pretty easily, and then I think, as most people would know that's gone through this journey, it gets to honours in accounting, and it becomes quite a difficult navigation to follow, as someone who's often passed a lot within life in terms of degrees. I mean, in terms of subjects and degrees, to reach a hurdle and then falter is quite a hard one to swallow. I tried honours twice, I failed twice, got back up, decided to change the method of my study, method of approaching exams, approaching the actual course that I was taking. Passed the third time for UNISA, came 15th in the country for that year. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges within that, and then throughout after that, started articles at BDO out in Umhlanga, and anyone who's done any sorts of articles or internships knows that all the worst jobs are given down to the bottom. So you get given the worst of the worst to do, and you go through and you grind and you just keep going. Passed board 1 and board 2 first time, became a chartered accountant, and haven't looked back. I think starting your own business is, people have illusions of grandeur. They think it's very cool to start your own business. I do think in South Africa, it's one where you don't have an option. There's not a lot of opportunities for employment, and so it's about hustling and getting to where you've got to be to support your family and yourself. So I do think opening a business and starting a business is something that most people turn to. They see an opportunity, they go for it. I think the biggest life lesson that we've learned, or that I've particularly learned, is research, is understanding the market, is understanding what you're wanting to do and why you're wanting to do it. Doing things just purely for money doesn't always work. I think a big part is you've got to have a passion, and you've got to really believe in what you're doing. It helps. I think everyone can believe in creating employment in South Africa is a big need. So I think that really does help us on our journey, on how we're growing and how we approach clients and how we approach the day-to-day of dealing with staff. But when it comes to your business and the journey that you want to take, I do think there's a big part is understanding of what you're trying to do. Talk to people that are in the industry or that have done what you have done or done what you're trying to do, because you do gain a lot from other people's experiences and failures. That is invaluable, and if you do fail, just keep getting up and keep trying again. Obviously, don't try the same thing over and over again. That's the definition of insanity. It's about learning from what you've done and growing from that. And I'm a big believer, if you can learn from other people's failures, it's great. You can just bypass all those sad nights. And it's just not easy. Just never go out thinking it's going to be easy and it's going to be a walk in the park. Know that there's going to be some tough times. There's going to be some sleepless nights. There's going to be some long hours. But just know that if you believe in it, it's going to be worth those long hours. It's going to be worth working those extra days. And inevitably it will pay off. Chartered accountant is mostly accounting, as in the name. So when I was in school, I studied economics, physical science, as well as accounting. Then I did maths, Afrikaans, and English. So I'm very practical in terms of how I deal with subjects, and so I found those subjects to, one, be easier for me rather than the biology where it's just a lot of studying. But also it's the type of mindset that you get is working with numbers. Clearly you need to train working with numbers, and that feeds through from earlier school. But don't take high school subjects just for the sake of getting through high school. Take the subjects that you know are going to impact you in your future careers, in your life, and that's going to give you that upper hand when you do get to it. As an employer, I often look at the type of subjects that people have chosen through high school, because it just shows what their mindset was like at the time. And so don't take it lightly. Make sure that you think about the subjects that you're going to take, think about the vocation that you want to work in, and then study accordingly. I think the motivation comes pretty easily is when you live in South Africa and you see a lot of the poverty and the unemployment. It's very easy to be motivated to keep driving, to keep trying to help the employment issue. Working with Sprout is trying to help those people that are unable to get jobs, and they don't really have a good reason, because they've got all the qualifications, they say the right things. It's just potentially they just don't come across the right way. So in terms of staying motivated, it's quite easy when you really believe in what you're doing. When you wake up in the morning, you want to get to work because you want to make an impact. You want to drive forward not only your company, but the people around you, the communities around you. You want to make an impact for South Africa. So I think the industry, BPO or business process outsourcing, it's a growing industry, especially in South Africa. We 2 years ago were rated #1 in the world for outsource. So it is a growing industry. The government's recognise that as well. I think in terms of doing the right things and taking the right partnerships within the industry is very important. And in terms of innovations, I do believe that we are moving towards a more professional services side of outsourcing now, rather than just the sales side and the general customer care. I do think in the outsourcing market, especially in the contact center, ChatGPT and all these chatbots that are coming out, it's always a risk, but there's always going to be a people element. I don't think it's going to affect it. It's about adapting and using the technology around you to further increase your business rather than getting left behind. It's the same advice that I give to any young person that I'm talking to, is that use every part of your life as a learning objective. No matter what you're going through, no matter if it's good times, bad times, if it's doing a new course, if it's just doing school, if it's playing on the playground, use everything as a learning option to take in, and try to take a few minutes to understand, okay, what are we doing? How's this going to help me? How's this beneficial? Whether it's teamwork on the sports field that drives through to being able to work well within an environment, in a work environment, or whether it's doing your internship at a company, is try to understand of what goes around, not just within your department, but in the larger source of the company, that gives you more information to be able to potentially start your own business or move into another sector within that company. So it's using everything that you experience is look at it for the positives, not the negatives. It might be a very negative situation, but the positives around that situation is try to learn to maybe not get back into that situation or not put yourself in that situation. If it's unavoidable, is saying next time at least I know how to deal with it, and I know that there is an outcome that you can get it. There's always light at the end of the tunnel if you find the right places. And yeah. I think last words is really find a passion for what you're doing. And if you can't find the passion in what you're doing because you've got to tick boxes, you know you've got a family to support, is don't use idle time to just sit back and do nothing. I speak to way too many people, and I'm also guilty of it, is saying, oh, I've got no time to do this. There's always time to do it. There's always time that you're on Facebook. There's always time that you're watching TV, Netflix, or there's always time that you're having a coffee or a beer or something like that. Is that there's always time to push yourself further, or to learn something new, or to just take some time to ask the person in another department within the company, what do you do? How did you get there? Ask the questions that have been asked today. There's always time to do that. And I think there is obviously there's going to be times when you're just exhausted and you're going to need to be that self-motivating person, but in the end you're going to look back and you're going to be glad that you stayed up for that extra 2 hours to do that extra thing. And so always take every day as it's your last, learn as much as you can, and be happy.